Hello and welcome to LawTorn, Collier Bristow's newest podcast, where we are going to be exploring what happens when family fights spill over into the legal arena. My name is Samara Dutton. I'm a partner in Collier Bristow's private wealth disputes team, and I am here with my colleague and co-host, the fabulous Philippa Dolan. Philippa's also a partner here in our family team. So for today, I think, Philippa, our job is just to provide a bit of an overview, a taster of what is to come in LawTorn. And I suppose in doing that might be helpful to sort of understand where the seed for doing this podcast came from, which was that I was noticing increased hostility in some of the cases that I've been acting on and the impacts that was having on my clients, and the contrast of that with this increasing emphasis in life more generally on well-being and looking after yourself and ensuring that you had calm minds and happy places, etc. And I thought, if that wellness is infiltrating all other areas of our life, what should we or could we be doing as lawyers looking after clients going through litigation to try and help them have some sense of wellness during that process? And wherever I looked, I couldn't really find any information on what types of things we could be doing to help clients do that, other than in the family sphere.
Yeah, we were the first trying to keep people out of court, I think, because you're never going to get too much wellness if you're spending a lot of time in court. So I think we were the first out of the blocks with the idea of mediation and alternative ways of resolving things and starting to use therapists because, clients are desperate and really unhappy. And I'm very comfortable with clients sitting and crying in meetings. Genuinely, it doesn't sort of faze me at all, but it's an indication that they're not happy.
Yeah.
And we have increasingly suggested to clients that they should go and seek help. And obviously we have people we trust that we can recommend to them. But of course, when you've lost a close relative, it must be at least as upsetting.
Yeah. I think that's exactly where the kind of crossover and similarities are within our practice areas, to the extent that my practice revolves around what you term inheritance disputes. So in the context of the death of a family member, that some kind of dispute arises. As you say, there is a real personal side to that you don't necessarily find in more corporate, commercial known litigation. And that is where my practice certainly feels much more aligned with family law than it does with the other sort of business and property disputes that go on within the courts that I practice in. Suppose it was that, and then we started discussing the sort of similarities and differences between family law procedure and the procedure and experiences that I've had for these type of inheritance disputes. And we just thought, actually, some of these conversations are quite interesting.
But we think them.
We think they're very interesting. We hope some other people may find them interesting. And also, too, if really the only thing that you and I can do to help anybody feel a bit better about going through these types of cases in court and this type of litigation is for us to give some insight into that process, into our experience of it.
Clients are very frightened often because they're coming into a completely strange environment that they don't understand at all. They don't understand the words, they don't understand the concepts. Even with the best will in the world, because it's your world, we tend to just make assumptions about what other people do understand. And frankly, they don't, and why should they? So one of the things I do want to do, and I hope I do with the clients I've got, is just simplified some of these concepts. And some of them are nuts. Some of them really don't make sense, but you just get used to it because you've done it for so many years. Some of it's complicated, but a lot of it isn't as complicated as people think it is. And at the end of it, certainly both our practices suggest is the stress of litigation is horrible. The cost is mind-blowing sometimes. And a lot of our job is trying to encourage people to think, well, if I did settle and feel really angry about it, how am I going to feel in 6 months' time? Do I wish I was back in the High Court?
Yeah, particularly if I've saved however many hundreds.
And that's finding a way to come to terms with what you regard as a very unfair situation.
Yes. So it is that sort of personal journey, for want of a better phrase, that you have to go on yourself to come to terms with the emotional side, as well as the sort of financial impacts that litigation can have on you. And it's hard. That's a really hard thing to do, particularly in front of a load of people with wigs on and behind benches that seem very strange and foreign and probably unsympathetic, although less so in family courts, possibly.
There are some very good judges. There just aren't enough of them.
So yes, that is the intention and the purpose, to try to help and to demystify and to explain concepts, topics, and procedure around these types of disputes: family disputes, inheritance disputes, anything that involves the breakdown of a relationship one way or another and the personal and emotional impact that has. We will be doing this by a series of podcasts, and we've been having a think about some of the topics that we will be discussing. We're quite excited about some more than others. Which ones are you most excited by, Philippa?
Well, Samara, I think the ones that have a philosophical and a moral element, always more interesting. Should this parent take a child to the other side of the world, even if they're going to see the other parent during the holidays? It's a massive moral issue as well as a practical one. And there are cases where you know it's the right thing, and there are others where you have concerns and you always feel really engaged in it. It's because it's a binary decision. I mean, that's something you can't feel indifferent to. Then there are ones about, people who are just misled by their partners, they're heartbroken. You've got to try and put them or help them be put back together and see a future. I mean, in your case, you obviously got very sad situations with people who've just died after a long marriage, and that's hard. All you can ever do is try and alleviate some of the stress of dealing with resolving their probate. It's difficult to say, and this is as cliche but true. Every case is different.
Yeah.
Every case. And you never feel sort of blah, blah, blah. Genuinely a unique situation.
It is. And it usually draws on various aspects of other things that have happened before, but never in exactly the same quantities or with the same answer. And that's what's fascinating. That's what we love. But rather than have a case study each week, we are going to at least try. So we'll be having lots of interesting topics ranging from common law marriage, will challenge and provision, a review of topical things such as the Law Commission's report on wills that's just been released, surrogacy, prenups and postnups, predatory marriage, all sorts. We're also going to have a number of guest slots, financial advisors, therapists, some of our colleagues here on interesting cases that they've been working on. No doubt we'll have a barrister or two thrown in for good measure. So thank you for listening so far. Stay tuned for lots of new exciting hot topics coming up, which we should be releasing on a monthly basis from here on out. It's going to be interesting, very interesting. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.